All right, let's continue. San Diego sports leader, the mighty 1090. As we listened to last night, I was in the car. I listened very, very early on. A hostile environment. San Diego State on the road pulls out its first victory of the year, at least on the road, and a very important win at that against the top 50 opponent, 60-52 over Wyoming. Joining us as he does each and every week here on the mighty 1090, the home of the Aztecs, is the AHC and the HCIW. He is Brian Dutcher. Dutch, good to talk to you.
It's great to be back, Darren, and great to be back in San Diego after spending 2 days in Laramie.
Yeah, well, okay, that's interesting. Of all the road trips that you guys make, which is the one you dislike the most?
This one, Laramie. You know, it's hard to get to. It's at altitude. I was joking with the guys. I've spent a month in Laramie because I've been here 16 years, and generally we go for 2 days every trip. So I've spent a whole month in Laramie. So no one knows it better than I do how hard it is to be in there and win a game.
So is it just that it's a pain in the neck to get there, or what's the deal?
It's tough to get there, and then thank goodness we were able to charter this trip because we turned an all-day affair to reach Laramie into a 2-hour flight right to Laramie, and then we got out last night, got back to the arena at 2:30 a.m., and we're back ready to practice at 2 today.
All right. Well, hey, fair enough on that front. I've always heard about these travel woes, and I always say, gosh, I wonder how much of that is just belly aching for the sake of belly aching. But when you hear it year after year after year, you start thinking to yourself, wow, there must be something to this.
Yeah, if we fly to Denver, by the time you check in, you fly a couple hours to Denver, then you got to get on the bus, you got to drive 2.5 hours to Laramie, and that's if the road's open, if you can get over the mountain pass. And it's not an easy trip, but, we don't bellyache about it. I mean, if we have to fly commercial, we go there and we tell them we plan on winning. We expect to win. But I'm not going to lie, chartering makes it so much easier for getting the kids just to the location, get them into the hotel, get some film watched, and get to the game.
Would you like to publicly thank somebody, whoever's responsible for the charter?
I'd like to thank Bob Moosberger for raising the money for the department, and Jim Sturk and John David Wicker for allowing us to do this. And it pays off greatly for our team, not only for that game last night, but hopefully by getting back and getting in our own beds last night to help us against Vegas on Saturday.
Moose, he's getting it done up there on the Mesa.
Moose is raising some money. He's doing a good job.
All right. How often do you guys charter?
I think we go anywhere from 2 or 3 times a year. And a lot of that is based if we have a game real quick, we like to get right out and get back so we can get our prep done at home. So sometimes it's location, sometimes it's schedule-based, but we charter 2 or 3 a year.
Are there programs, Kentucky, Duke, are there programs that charter each and every game?
Some programs charter every game, but those programs probably have $25 million coming in from a TV contract. So they have a little bit more resources, and some programs that have the resources don't charter every game. It's just program by program and what resources are available.
All right, we're talking to Brian Dutcher. He's the AHC, the HCIW. San Diego State now 13-4, 3-1 in conference, 60-52 last night against Wyoming, as we talked about earlier in the program. I hope it was fun while it lasted, Wyoming, in the top 25 for the first time since 1988, as quickly out as they were in. So last week I felt like I don't want to say we were pushing the panic button here, Dutch, but last week felt like there was a sense of urgency. It wasn't a full-blown crisis, but what have the last couple of games meant to you guys? Because you win at home, a very, very important game against New Mexico, and then last night on the road, notching your first road victory. Is everything a little bit calmer today than it was about a week ago?
Oh, absolutely. We go to Fresno and lose that game. We're really disappointed, not only in losing, but the way we performed, that we turned the ball over. We got down a lot of points. Even though we went on a 17-0 run, we couldn't come back and win the game. So obviously that pushes up the sense of urgency. So we came home with New Mexico and played a really good home game in front of a really great environment. Home crowd was incredible that game. And then we go play a ranked team in Wyoming who has beaten us the last 2 years in their place, and a very good team. And we were able to steal our first road win of the season. So obviously, as coaches, you always feel as good as your last performance. And so we're feeling pretty good right now. But we'll put that behind us as we step on the practice floor this afternoon and get ready for a really, really talented Vegas team.
Did you have any sense of how your team would respond after that loss against Fresno State? I know it's easy to say all the right thing and we believe in them and all that sort of stuff. It's a totally new team with a bunch of different personalities. They responded well. I think we'd both agree. Everybody would agree, just stating the facts on that and stating the obvious here. But did you know, did you have a sense of how they would respond after that loss?
Well, you have a sense because you got a great leader in Steve Fisher. And like I said, he was as hard on him as he could be after the game. But when we got back here, he built him back up. It's like we can't be letting this one loss cost us 2 more because we browbeat them. Let's get them back feeling good about themselves. Let's work on what we need to work on. And he does a great job leading this program. So I think the way he sets the tone helps the team perform the way it does.
Last week I was kicking myself, Dutch, for not following up. I asked if we would expect or if we should expect any changes. You guys were playing against New Mexico. If we should expect any changes coming off the loss against Fresno State. And, you didn't say no. You didn't say yes. You say, we're working on some stuff. And I should have followed up, and I didn't. And then later on, when you play New Mexico, you decided that Trey Kell would be moved to the bench, and you put Matt Shrigley in. So I'm sure you knew that at the time that we were discussing it. I just wonder now, with the last couple of games here, were you tinkering around? Why was that the decision? Why was that the move that you guys made?
Matt had been shooting the ball so well. He hit 4 out of 6 threes against Fresno in the loss, and we just thought, Trey was struggling a little bit with his shot, and we thought, let's put someone out there dangerous that teams are going to have to account for that's feeling really good about the way he's playing, and it's nothing against Trey. Maybe we thought maybe Trey coming off the bench as a freshman might free him up a little bit, take a little pressure off him, and the moves worked out pretty good for us. Matt hasn't, I don't know if he made a 3 in the last game or not, but they definitely have to know where he is. They chase him out there, and sometimes even though he's not making a 3, it opens up driving lanes and angles for other people to get in there and be successful. So we're happy with what Matt has done as a starter right now, and we're feeling pretty good about the team. Even though we didn't shoot a great percentage yesterday, we made timely 3s.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this leaves you with a starting lineup without a true point guard, correct?
Well, AQ is the point guard now, so he's the true point guard because he's the one playing it. So we got AQ out there. He does a good job. He hasn't been trained as a point guard his whole career, but AQ is he's an extremely confident young man. And so I think if he were to hear me say he hasn't been raised a point guard, he might disagree. I think he, in his own mind, feels he should have been there the whole time. So believing it is part of playing it, and he believes in himself, and we believe in him. So AQ has got that role right now, and he's done a good job for us.
Does that require him to take a different mindset instead of being a guy? And he stands out. He's a good long-range shooter, but does he have to change his mindset if you're telling him that he has to be the point guard? Not has to, but that he's going to be the point guard here moving forward?
I don't know how much it changed his mindset last night. I think he took 14 shots.
Right.
I don't know how many assists he got, but he definitely got his shots up, and sometimes that's part of it. If they're like Xavier last year. I mean, Xavier was our best scorer, and he was running the point, so there's different ways to approach that position. Sometimes you want a distributor, but sometimes you want a guy that can score from there. So right now, AQ's doing a good job of being a threat from that position. And with that being said, he drove in there in the second half and kicked it cross court to Dakari Allen, who hit a really big 3 when we went on our little run to create some distance between us and the Cowboys. So he's not afraid to move the ball, but he's also a confident scorer.
Okay, fair enough. Did you guys talk? Do you discuss? You had some players who were playing up there for the first time. Kell, Malik Pope, Zabo. I don't think Zabo got off the bench, but Angelo Chol. I don't know what his experience is at Wyoming. Do you guys talk about altitude when you go to a place like Wyoming or no?
We talk about it as coaches. I don't think we spend an exorbitant amount of time talking about it with the team. They know. I mean, they get out there. Some of them go a couple different approaches. They might run a little extra harder and shoot around to see how it feels. And obviously they have a giant new scoreboard in the arena. And when you walk in there for your shoot around on game day, you're at 7,200 feet. And how's your oxygen? It flashes your entire practice. So they're not afraid to try to put that into your minds either. So they're publicizing that to our team. They have it in the hallways going to the locker room. So obviously it's out there, but I thought our kids did a good job. We kept the pace where we wanted it. Both teams don't really quick shoot the ball. We will at times, but they definitely take care of the ball. So we knew we had to guard a long time. That was our mindset going in, that we had to play every possession 35 seconds if we're going to be successful. And I think we did that.
They flashed that during practice. I understand it during the game. I mean, A little hokey to do it during practice.
Yeah, they do it during practice, which is, I don't know what it costs to run a scoreboard during the day, but they've got their Jumbotron on during practice in both end zones, and then a little scroll letting you know that you're at that altitude, and it flashes, how's your oxygen? And then before the game during introductions, Aaron, they do this whole thing about you're at this altitude. Are you having are you having a headache? Are you feeling weak? You could be suffering from oxygen deficiency or altitude sickness, and they do that during introduction. So it's a little bit overdone, but it's pretty funny.
All right, last question for you, Dutch. Decision was made this week about Zylan Cheatham. I know we had discussed it in the past, what sort of options you had in terms of him, his future playing this year, not playing this year. You've decided to medically redshirt him, so that means he will not play at all. How did we draw that conclusion? How do we get to that decision on Cheatham?
Usually it's just not a coach's decision. The player's involved, the player's family. So coach talked to Zylan, the parents, and we just felt it was in his best interest to get more minutes as a fifth-year senior than it would be to get minimal minutes as a freshman coming in late. Because we have a rotation that's pretty good right now. We're confident in JJ. I think Malik Pope has done a good job coming on and playing a backup to JJ. And, if he did play, whose minutes – what expense would it be at whose minutes? Would it be Malik's minutes that are being sacrificed? Would it be JJ's minutes? And, we just at this time thought, even though we thought he could help and contribute, we thought it was in his best interest and the team's best interest to redshirt him this season.
All right, Las Vegas coming up 3 o'clock on Saturday. They are 10-7. How good are they?
Extremely talented. I mean, when you beat Arizona, which is a task we couldn't do, you play Kansas to the last minute or two of the game, you have the talent to win. They're just young there, and they have a lot of freshmen that they rely on. And when you rely on freshmen, sometimes they're going to have up and down nights. So I'd say on any given night, they could beat anybody in the country, and they have in Arizona. But they've also struggled at times during games, and that's just a byproduct of being young.
Youth. We love it. Dutch, a pleasure. Good to see this thing back on track here. 60-52 last night, 13-4 overall. Aztecs will play next coming up this Saturday at 3 p.m. Dutch, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Darren.